Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach.
So, recently we've talked about having a positive mindset before your ride and during your ride, but today we want to talk about post rides. So, we're going to cover how to handle a good ride and then also how to bounce back from a challenging ride. Lauren, can you walk us through how you reviewed your rides today?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's perfect because I rode both my horses, and one was a super successful and feel good type ride. And the other one was a little bit more challenging. So it'll be kind of nice to be able to see the difference of how to break down each one and move forward so that way tomorrow can be more successful. So we'll start with my feel good, successful ride. I got on my mare and she was in a really great mood. I followed kind of the pre ride routine of being able to kind of analyze how she was doing, see what she was feeling, get myself in the right mindset to be open to training as to where she was going to take me. Once we got on, I was very present. And afterwards, I sat down with my trainer and I asked her what her key takeaways were. And that's one of the most important things. If you are working with a trainer, make sure you sit down with them, even if it's just for 1 minute, and say, what did you see? What improved or regressed during the ride? And what are we going to think about and work on for tomorrow? So, like for Dixie, I asked my trainer, okay, what did you see happen today? So, one of the things we were working on was a lot of transitions because we're going to a horse show where there's going to be lots of quick up down transitions where you're going to have to do it immediately. We worked a lot on her staying square and balanced, and she was really receptive to it. So, my trainer wanted me to remember how that felt. So, that's something that I'm going to go and write down in my journal is how that felt, what that was like to be able to get her to be in a straighter frame. So, what that felt like to be able to get her into a straighter frame and how I want that to feel from the get go tomorrow versus taking from the beginning of the ride to the end of the ride. Another thing that we worked on was kind of the amount of pressure that we had in my hand. So my trainer was able to relay that that was a good amount of pressure. My seat was really good. She liked that I pulled my legs back a little bit too. So mentally, I'm going to take notes as to how that felt and how I want it to feel again initially when I step into the saddle the next day. So Dixie was really great. It's really easy when you have a successful ride because it's going to be a really quick overview of, hey, this was good. This was good. Let's do it again tomorrow. So that ride, I was just, yes, all right, let's go. I can kind of, I don't want to say forget about it, but I don't have to ruminate on it quite as much. So then I got on my younger horse and he was in a new place. And so it was a little bit more just alert. It wasn't necessarily a bad ride, it was just more challenging. He had a lot more energy. He was a little bit more reactive to my leg, and it just took a lot more balancing. So I sat down with the trainer afterwards and I said, hey, what'd you think of Pal? Where can we go from here? What should I try to do differently tomorrow? Because that's going to be my question to my trainer is what can we do differently versus with Dixie it was what did you like and let's keep that the same. So for Pal, she said, "Hey, let's work on getting him to take a breath just right at the beginning when you get on and make sure that he's with you. Let's work a lot on basics. Let's make everything extremely calm, extremely foundational and just kind of go from there." So I was able to ask her for her advice. We've developed a plan for the next day, and I'm just going to throw it away. I'm not going to dwell on the fact that it wasn't a perfect ride because when it isn't a perfect ride, it gives you a lot of opportunity to learn, a lot of opportunity to grow with your horse. And that's where having the growth mindset is going to be huge for you because if you have a fixed mindset and you have a challenging ride, then you're like, "Oh man, Pal is just on the muscle and he's never going to listen to me. So, how am I ever going to get him to be showable?" Well, with a growth mindset, you're able to say, "Well, do you know what? Today was just a little bit rough, but we have a plan. Tomorrow is going to be better. And if it's not, we'll alter the plan and the next day will be a little bit better. So that's kind of how both of my rides went and how my review with my trainers went. And I'm just really excited to get back in the saddle tomorrow and put all those things into place. Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pin anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and I'm here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
I really like how you explained the difference between what a fixed mindset could look like and what a growth mindset could look like in that specific scenario. Can you explain it a little bit more for a fixed mindset look and a growth mindset look at your positive ride with Dixie as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So having the fixed mindset, while it may seem like a good thing for me to say, oh, she's perfect and every day is going to be perfect, I'm just setting myself up for failure and myself up for a lot of depression almost, because what's going to happen is since they're living, breathing animals and you're a living, breathing animal, one day is not going to be great and you're going to be just so devastated. So, while it may seem like it's great to say, Dixie's perfect and nothing will ever go wrong, you need to still approach it with a growth mindset of these things were excellent today. I will do my best to keep doing it, and we will still continue to try to improve. And that each ride I will take as its own versus trying to compare it to the last piece of perfection. Also, by having a growth mindset, you're able to look at each ride as its own. It's not going to be a reflection of your past ride, and it's not going to be a reflection of your future ride. You'll be able to take what's happened, learn on it, and expand on it. So it's really important to make sure you come at both a challenging and good ride with a growth mindset.
What does your post ride visualization routine look like?
So my post ride visualization will kind of cover exactly what I was feeling today. I don't want to visualize things that didn't happen. So I'm going to look back and take into account where my trainers either liked or wanted improvement. And I'm going to feel those maneuvers as if I were doing them like I did that day. I'm going to go through it and I'm going to think about, okay, when she said she liked this, this is how it felt. Or when she said she wanted this to be differently, I'm going to imagine. So for the ones that's just I need to change, I'm going to imagine it for a very brief moment. And then I'm going to imagine doing it better and doing it quote unquote correctly, which would be however my trainer and I discussed. So if I did something really well, I will visualize doing it exactly how I did it. But if I made a mistake or if my horse could have been a little bit better, I'm going to remember what I did that wasn't quite perfect. But then my visualization is going to change and be enhanced to fit more of what my trainer wants it to be like. And that's where it gets kind of fun because you almost get to be creative and you say, okay, I'm riding my horse and I'm sitting this way or I'm sitting that way, applying this amount of pressure and you're able to feel, okay, how is my horse going to change underneath me? And then the next day when you go to ride, you can say, okay, did it turn out the way that I visualized in my head? And if not, that gives you a lot of information to go and do your post ride visualization the next time and try to get it better and better. And you make sure that that creativity in your head starts applying to the way that your horse feels.
Can you walk me through your exact routine, like what you did today? Like, what are the exact thoughts and statements you said to yourself? Did you do it when you were untacking? Did you do it on your drive home? Did you do it once you got home and you're in the shower? Like, what and where does that routine actually look like for you?
Yeah. So the review with my trainer will happen immediately, right after I get off my horse. Sometimes when I'm still sitting on the horse, it kind of just depends if they're busy or if they're around on another horse. We'll go over kind of the review category. I'll put everything in my mental Rolodex. If I have a piece of paper, if I have a note on my phone, sometimes I'll write things down if they're super important. because my memory is not the greatest, and sometimes I remember things with rose-colored glasses, and I'll be like, "It wasn't that bad." But sometimes it is. So make sure you write it down if you need to know exactly what you need to change. But so, like today, we reviewed it in the arena, and then as I was walking back to untack, I was just kind of remembering and rehearsing everything that she said and thinking about how that felt. The true visualization really doesn't happen until later in the day. A lot of times, I'll go for a run in the evening or go on the Peloton, and when I'm doing that, that's when I will really imagine how things feel. I really hope no one watches me when I run because sometimes I'll move my body a certain way or I'll put my hand a certain way or I'll start kind of loping like a horse and be like, "Okay, if I want him to do
You
this,
do
then."
not. You do not do
Yeah, I
that.
have. I have.
Oh my god, you're like one of the horse girls on sticks.
I can't believe I admitted this on a podcast.
Okay, this
But
is us showing that we are being really open and really real with you guys on here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm blushing right now. Yeah, everybody should ask if they could see this. Well, hey, you know what? My horse moves really good. So we'll say that it's because I lope around and pretend that I'm her.
Okay, I haven't
Very
done that. I
interesting.
haven't done that while running, but I have done that on, like, a yoga ball. So, I have this one client who was having a really hard time feeling, like, the circular motion of the lope. So, I had her actually do it on a yoga ball. So, she'd sit on a yoga ball and she'd actually, like, make a circular motion like the lope, and then we would do a lead change. So, she would do a lope, like a left lead lope, and then break down to, like, an extended trot and then pick up the right lead lope. And that was an exercise that we did for months, and it actually really helped her. And I started doing it a little bit too. So I guess I can't make that much fun of you.
I totally love that. I think that's perfect. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably a great post ride thing to do, right? Because it is a very similar feeling
Yes, it
of
is.
being able to get the motion. You can work on your body position. You can make sure that your shoulders are over your hips. You can make sure that your elbows are in. You can kind of change the weight, and then the ball kind of reacts under you.
It does. Yeah,
So
it provides really good feedback.
oh, man. Okay, so maybe instead of running and loping around like a little horse, I'm gonna ride the yoga ball, and at least no one can see me and laugh at me.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of kind of the visualization will take place on my run. Apparently now it's going to take place on my yoga ball.
On the yoga ball, yep.
Yeah, and then as I lay down to go to sleep, that's when the next day's visualization will come into play as to how I want the next day's ride to go.
How does it look different after you show?
Yeah, so the nice part about a horse show is I will usually have somebody filming, whether it's my mom or my trainer or my friends. You can usually find somebody to be able to film your run. And then that gives great feedback because not only are you able to listen to your trainer and hear what they have to say, you can then look at what they have to say. You can slow things down, you can back things up. And it's just a really, really great feedback to be able to have the video. So I will, as soon as my run is over, if my trainer has time, watch the run with my trainer. I'll say, okay, what did you think of this and this? A lot of times I will tell them what I was feeling from my horse in that moment. And sometimes I'll tell them what I personally was feeling because sometimes anxiety gets the most of us and I'll say, "Wow, I really kind of blanked out there. We need to work on that and we need to go back and I need to ground myself before going into the show pen next time because I let my horse down by not showing up in this area, this area, this area." But so we'll go through it. They'll tell me what they see. I'll tell them what I felt and then we'll make a game plan. But being able to see it from that angle also gives great opportunities for visualization for you. So I love having video recording. And if you can get that from your lesson, that's fabulous too because then you can, like I said, go back and just know exactly what they're looking for, what your horse is doing, what you are doing personally, and be able to tweak it so the next day is even better.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse. whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopindowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride. Do you watch your runs back even if it didn't go the way that you wanted it to?
Ooh, that's a great question. The answer is pretty much no. Um, so I'll watch lightly, kind of like how I mentioned earlier, how after a challenging ride, I'll visualize what happened, but then let it go. I do that a lot with if I had a poor showing. I won't I'll watch it just to know what happened, but I will not watch it more than once because I don't want that to be programmed into my brain as to how to do it. I wanna know what it was so I can fix it, but then I'm gonna let it go, and that's the growth mindset kind of coming out because I'm like, "That was today, that is not tomorrow. Tomorrow will be better, and tomorrow will not look like that." So, I don't wanna ever think about it again. I'll delete it from my phone and pretend it didn't happen.
I think that's a really good way to look at it. Like, I think that it's important to watch the run, even if it didn't go quite the way that you wanted it to, because I do think it's important to figure out, okay, what led to that moment where it didn't go well? Did you lose your connection during your haunch turn? Did you take your right leg off when you went to go to the lope? Like, what did you do? And what can you do about it next time? But then I agree that you can't dwell on it. You can't watch it back 10 times and then go lay back in your trailer or in your hotel room and just watch your run over and over and over again. Because then you're totally right, because then you're gonna go into that visualization and now you're creating a visualization for recreating the part that didn't go very well. So, I do think that that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's just a vicious cycle, and you don't need to put yourself through that stress.
So you mentioned a minute ago about that blank moment where you go into that show pen and then you come back out and you didn't remember a section of your pattern. What do you think causes that? Because I hear a lot of people talking about that, but I have never once experienced that. Like, I can remember every single moment, every single breath of every pattern that I've ever done right after I come out of the pen. So, what do you think causes that blank moment?
So for me, usually when that happens is because I'm trying too hard. And so then I'm forcing things rather than allowing things to happen. And when I try to force something, I get ahead of myself. And I think it's not so much that I'm quote unquote blanking out, and maybe other people would have a different experience, but for me, it's I'm so far ahead that I don't take time in the moment to do the present things. And so for me, I need to make sure that I feel my horse, I'm centered with my horse, my breathing is really under control because when I think that I have to perform at, a 10,000% level, I'll just start thinking, okay, next maneuver, next. And then I don't do the current maneuver very well. And, for me, that's kind of what happens there, and I think that it just feels out of control.
So, what do you do or what can you do to help prevent that?
Yeah, so for me, it's about grounding myself and just being very, very present with my horse. So like, it will take that last horse show that I went to. The first day, I was pretty amped up and really wanted to show off because it was the first show of the year, and I was like, "Dixie has to be at this level." And I just started getting way too ahead of myself, and I did not like the way that mentally I wrote everything. So when I came back and prepared for the next day, I told myself, "Where you are is enough. She is enough, and if you override and try to be more than you are, it's probably gonna crash and burn because that's not fair to you and that's not fair to your horse. So, just be in the moment, feel her, get synced up with her, pay attention to every stride, and like I said, focus on my breathing. I did that box breathing right before I went to the cone the second day, and all I could think about was where she was in my hand and between my legs that whole ride, every stride, boom, boom, boom. And she did great. I was super thrilled with her. We made huge improvements, and it wasn't because she wasn't a good horse the first day. It was because Lauren wasn't being a good rider. And that's okay to admit that sometimes you're not on your game. But again, by having that growth mindset, which I feel like I keep preaching and I will keep preaching until I'm blue in the face, but by having a growth mindset, I was able to make an improvement and we actually won under one of the cards and she was fantastic. So don't count yourself out if something doesn't go great. Just review it, talk to your trainer, get a good plan, and move on and be better the next day.
So I feel like we've talked a lot about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset lately, but it's been a while. Like I think we covered what that actually means in one of our very first episodes. But if you're listening to this and you can't remember, oh, like what exactly does a growth mindset mean and what exactly does a fixed mindset mean? Lauren, can you kind of explain the difference between those?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a fixed mindset is going to say the skills that I have at this moment are the skills that I will have forever. They will never get better. I will never be able to improve. The fixed mindset will look around the warm up arena and say, I will never ride as good as Ellie. I will never have a horse as nice as Dixie. I will never be able to do any of those things. Who I am is who I am. It's a tough place to be in because with competition, there's going to be so much ebb and flow of success that it can be really, really disconcerting to feel like you aren't good enough. But a growth mindset is going to look around and say, hey, Ellie's a really strong rider. I wonder what she's doing so that way I can get stronger and I can improve and I can be a strong rider too. Or maybe they look over and say, wow, Dixie's a really nice horse. Like, what can I do to make my horse move a little better or look a little different in order to, and it's not necessarily to compare yourself or be better than somebody else. It's about being inspired by what you see in the world and making yourself better. And a growth mindset says that you can be better than you were today.
That's why I love going to horse shows so much is I love going and being inspired. So, Sun Circuit is in a couple weeks, and the reason why I'm going I'm not competing. Nobody in my barn is going, like, I am going just because I want to go and be inspired by the level of competition that's there. And I think that's really important when you want to be the best that you can, you need to go and you need to watch your competition. Watch what they do in the warm-up. Watch what they do after their rides. If they had a bad ride, are they getting off, being mad at their horse and storming off right back to the stalls and leaving their horse tacked up for hours? Or are they taking care of themselves? Are they taking care of their horse? Are they talking to their trainer with a growth mindset? Or are they talking to their trainer and everybody around them with a fixed mindset? I think it's important to watch and learn and observe your competition because I think that's the best way that we learn. We learn what to do. And then honestly, I think that I learn so much more learning about what not to do just from sitting and observing people and trainers and amateurs and assistant trainers and horses. That is so important for our sport is to be able to watch and observe and take something away from it.
Absolutely. And then by being able to watch and assess everything, you realize that everybody's just a real normal person out there
Right.
too. Because it's really easy to look at things from Facebook and Instagram and think that, certain people are elite and untouchable. But then when you can actually spend time and watch them and talk to them, you're like, oh, they're just a normal person like me and they work really hard. And if I work really hard, a lot of opportunities are out there.
I used to think that way a little bit about you because when I first started I'm serious because when I first started my business and when I first met, I really hadn't shown a lot. I still haven't shown a whole lot. But I really hadn't shown at high level at all. I actually still really haven't. But I felt a little bit like when I went to you and I was like, "Hey, like I have this little fitness program and like would you be so kind as to like come and try my program and give me feedback and all that stuff. Like, I felt like I was talking to a celebrity, like Lauren Crivelli, like the multiple world champion. I get to work with her. Like, that's incredible. So I actually felt that way a little bit with you.
Oh
Is
my
like,
goodness.
I'm
I'm blushing
serious.
again.
But, you know, uh, but then I get to know you and it's like, oh, she is a real person. She is not this perfect face that you see on the YouTube videos and in the Chronicle and in these articles. She's a real person and she has real problems and she has to work hard at it. And I think that's one thing that talent will only get you so far. You have to work really, really hard to be good at the things that you're good at. Even though Lauren is a multiple world champion and she is very successful and she has had a lot of success, she still has to work out. She still has to ride every day. She still has to focus on her mindset. Like, you can't let those things slip because that's when you're not gonna be able to perform the way that you used to.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't take anything for granted. And that's one thing too about horse showing is just because you won yesterday doesn't mean you're going to win tomorrow.
Mhm.
And that's both exciting and nerve-wracking, right? But that's where it is so important to build a team like you with my personal training and my trainers for getting my horse to be better. The mindset, like you said, having a growth mindset and saying that each day I'm gonna get out there, improve, and try to be better than I was. But you cannot just sit there and expect great things to happen to you do have to get in, do the work, do the reps because nobody's gonna do them for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
So, let's talk about that as, like, a post-ride routine. So, let's say you go and you have a really good ride. You go and you win the world show. How does your post-ride routine look after a big win like that?
Ooh, okay, now we're talking. That's almost a whole different bag of worms there because you have reached the pinnacle. And for me, there was so many emotions that kind of went along with it, which I feel like should be a part of your post-ride routine is that I should have mentioned earlier, is being able to analyze and digest and process your emotions from a ride, both a challenging ride and a great ride. So we'll go back to the world show. So immediately after was just pure elation and also a ton of relief because I'd worked so hard. The team around me had worked so hard. You know, my family, we'd put so many years into trying to achieve this dream. And then it finally happened. It almost felt surreal, but at the same time, my ride was really good, and it was one of those rides where you were just so at peace, where you thought, "No matter what the judges do with this, I wouldn't change a single thing." And so that was a very interesting feeling because I'm not gonna lie, I kinda thought that the first time I won the world, I would be quote unquote shocked and surprised, and I don't get me wrong, I still was shocked and surprised because what a huge blessing, but my horse was so good that I was like, "He did deserve to win that day." And not in a cocky way, but in just a I was so proud of him, and if they woulda put me 15th, I woulda said, "My horse did everything that I could have done. I wouldn't have changed a thing." So, for that one, I definitely processed those emotions of elation, relief, peace. And then afterwards, I went and talked to my trainer and was like, "We did it. This is great." And there was a lot of, "Yeah, woohoo, this is great, this is great." And then about an hour later, they're like, "Okay, now what?" And that's what I think a lot of people don't really talk about is the now what. There were more classes at the horse show, so we did have to do a post-ride, recap of what we really liked, and even though I was at peace and wouldn't wanna change a certain anything, there were still just little pieces where they're like, "Okay, this is what we need to look at and make better for the next ride. This is what we need to do exactly the same for the next ride. This is where your body could have been slightly better here and there." So, even though it was the world champion run, there's always something to be kind of looked at and improved upon. So we went and then we went back to work because we had a few more classes and we needed to be able to finish out strong. So if you do have a super successful ride, you need to appreciate that, but if there's the rest of the show left, don't let it get to your head because, you know, there's gonna be a new winner tomorrow, and you're gonna have to work twice as hard for that to be you.
Let's go back to the fact that it took years, not months, not days, not weeks. That took years.
Yeah. Yeah, I was 28 years old when I won my first world championship, which for some people is still really young. Some people don't win their first world championship till they're in their 50s. I started riding when I was 5 and then competing at a national level probably when I was 13 or so. So it took me 15 years of competing, training both in and out of the saddle, training my mind, training with my horses to be able to reach that. It was definitely a long journey that I didn't know if it would ever happen, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people ride in with this high of, "Oh, okay, like this is my first world show. I should be able to go and win a world champion." Like, that seems realistic to some people. And it's like, no, like it takes a long time to build up the mental strength, the physical strength, that connection with your horse. It takes a long time.
Absolutely, and like you said, the connection with your horse, the horse that I won with, Rooster, I had him for 5 years. We took him from a green pleasure horse that didn't know anything and turned him into an amazing all-arounder, but that took a lot of time. There were several classes that I showed in his younger years where I would trot over my lope overs. I wouldn't be able to stand at a cone. Like, it wasn't all sunshine and butterflies from the beginning. So, there was a lot of perseverance, a lot of post-ride reviews where the trainer said, "I can't pick out one thing that went well, but you know what? Let's keep going." And,
Right. Don't give up.
exactly, and it ended up being worth it, but I we were together for 5 years before we did that, and it's a process, but it's so worth it and so rewarding, just the bond that you can build with your horse through all of that too.
So let's paint the scene again for a moment. You just went, it's 2020, you just went and you won your first world championship in the horsemanship with Rooster. And then you said that you still had more classes in that horse show. How did the rest of those classes go? And how did your post ride visualization and routine look for those classes after you'd already been on the high of winning?
Yeah, absolutely. So the classes that I had left, let's see if I can remember correctly, because the first class that I had was showmanship, and we ended up being a reserve world champion there, which is a super interesting thing because just getting a globe was like the biggest fantasy and dream of mine. So by getting a globe in the showmanship, which was the first class that I had done at that horse show,